The possibilities for the future of the Avatar franchise are endless, and yet, I find that all that we know about so far that is coming has not lived up to one idea that we could potentially see if it is real. Avatar Studios, as of right now, has a slate of projects that they are trying to work on, and yet one of them could be a massive surprise for a lot of fans out there to get something completely different that could turn out to potentially be the best thing they make if it is great. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the idea of making a new television show about the second Avatar that existed. An idea that if you heard it, you might shrug it off and not think it's all that big of a deal. But then you put the idea down on paper and you start to really unravel the richness of storytelling that you could come to find from this kind of premise. You'll find that it is actually a lot more appealing than you think. If by chance anyone from Avatar Studios is watching this video, I sincerely hope you take this into consideration if you haven't planned the series out yet. So with that being said, sit back, relax, and enjoy some jasmine tea as we analyze this great idea. First things first, let's address the elephant in the room, which I imagine is where you all ask me the question of why this is a video I'm making out of any potential idea for a video that I could make. The answer lies with a good friend of mine, Caleb Williams, at Night Edge Media, who reports on all things Avatar related, and he put out an article yesterday detailing a theory that one of the new series coming from Avatar Studios could possibly be following the second Avatar after Avatar Wan, who, as many fans know, was the first Avatar to exist. He laid out in the article that where the theory comes from is the fact that Paramount had released a merchandising video back in September of 2024 that featured a 9-second clip showcasing a possible slate of upcoming projects from the studio under the banner Avatar Legends. As you can see here on your screen, this is the image that many people have been floating around the internet as to the possibilities of what we are going to see. Caleb noted in his article that the slate confirmed 3 previously announced theatrical films and a still unannounced Earth Avatar series that could follow the next Avatar after Korra. It also featured a new yet completely unknown Airbender series that will be released after the Earth Avatar series, as you can see by the image showcasing the symbol of the air nomads. Just as a point of reference for why we could get more news about this in the future, as you'll notice on the official Avatar The Last Airbender YouTube channel, there is the @ which is no longer what it used to be, and is now at Avatar Legends. This leaves some to theorize that the potential ramping up of marketing around Avatar Studios' upcoming future is upon us and would back up that slate that has been floating around the internet. And secondly, as many people have pointed out, it would not make sense lore-wise for the next new series that takes place after the Earth-based Avatar series to be focused on an airbender as the Avatar, because technically that would have to be around a firebender-based Avatar, as that is how the cycle has been done for thousands of years since the Avatar first existed. Some believe that this new series would be a deviation from the current cycle we are on right now, following the new Avatars in the current timeline, and we'd actually be going back in time to see who the original second one was after Avatar Wan. So right there, we have enough evidence and support to back up the theory that this is potentially what they are going to do. Obviously, there is no proof or confirmation to suggest that this is what's going to happen. But of course, what we as fans love to do is to theorize of the potential possibilities of what this could mean. And that is where we get with today's video breaking down that possible theory. Why is a story about the second Avatar so fascinating? It's a question that can be answered from a matter of perspective, depending on who you are. But for me, it all comes down to the fact that it's a story that could be one of the most interesting character studies of a human being that you would ever see in this universe. You are essentially asking the audience to follow this character in their journey with not knowing who they are and why they have been given the title of Avatar. A person who one day wakes up and realizes that they have the task of being the world's most important person to help bring balance to every living soul. When you compare this to something like Avatar The Last Airbender, as you follow Aang, he is the kind of person that lives in a time where the idea of the Avatar is already fully established to all 4 nations with how it works in the cycle. Everyone already knew that this was something that was going to happen, so there was never a question about the confusion behind what would be next. However, the second avatar does not get to experience anything like that. Essentially, he or she is somebody who has to be known to everyone around them that they are the next one in the cycle. Not a single person on the planet would know where to look next for who would become the next avatar after Avatar Wan. In The Legend of Korra, when the show runs through the arc of exploring the backstory behind him as the first avatar, it's established that he became the first avatar through a combination of different circumstances. He lived in a time where people were confined to cities and little tribes, and spirits were roaming free within the wilderness of the world. At one point in the journey of his life, he comes across a lion turtle, which grants him the ability to bend the element of fire. After that, we find that he is the first person to merge with the spirit of Rava, as Caleb points out in his article. His quest then after that is essentially where we see every other avatar go, their journey to learn and master the other three elements. He would then go on to establish the foundation for the avatar cycle, and he passed down that knowledge of what the avatar's responsibility is through many people around him. He may not have taught people in a more formal way, but there was enough there for a groundwork to be set for people to look for who would be the next afterwards. You would see that eventually over time, people start to realize what was going on, and they would craft this notion of the avatar cycle to where they could then look to who was next after one dies. And right there is the establishment for why, if this particular series is a real thing, it could lead to one of the more fascinating stories that this universe has the ability to tell. A second avatar is not granted the ability to be seen by all the people who were taught about what the next one was to come. No one had any idea that the next avatar after Wan would be an airbender. They most likely could have just assumed that it would just be another firebender, and so it could take years and years for people to go out and find who that next one was. On top of that, think about it. What do you think that second avatar is going to go through when they realize that there was one person who came before them that is going to help them outline the future of what their purpose means to the world? When you take the example of someone like Aang, his past avatar was Roku, so Aang has to look to him for guidance about what's in store for him in the future. If the second avatar were to speak to Avatar Wan about all that stuff, he or she would be burdened quite fast and not feel like they are up to the task of taking on this monumental role. There is a lot of weight that is brought down on the shoulders of that person, and the impact on it is, I'd say, complex and multifaceted. For one, that avatar is going to feel an overwhelming sense of pressure and anxiety. That kind of responsibility could be suffocating for that person, and there would be a lot of expectations set upon them that they may not know if they are up to the task of accomplishing. It could leave for a sense of isolation, given that there's only one of them alive in the world, and there's no one else they can look to be like them. That avatar could feel a fear of failure, to where they know who came before them helped to make everything great, but then they don't know if they will fail to continue that process for the rest of their life. These are just several examples to show how it could affect that person. Ultimately, I think a lot of people would be very interested to just solely see the reaction that that person has. The sense of being the successor to something so significant can bring out a range of emotions, from fear, as I just mentioned, pressure, and then potentially even excitement if, say, that person was ecstatic to the idea that they hold this amount of power that only one person in the entire world can possess. And do you know what other thing that makes all this so compelling is? It's the fact that we've already seen it play out with a few other avatars like Aang and Korra. We've seen this exact journey already with those two, which led to some good storytelling with many different characters. But the possibilities of seeing that all play out with the second ever Avatar could be even more than what we would expect to see. I am here all day, Avatar Studios. If this is what you're doing, or say not planning on making, please hire me on, because I'm ready to go all in on this idea and help make it a reality. I haven't been this fascinated by a theory for a story in a long time for this franchise. Definitely read through Caleb's article, as he does outline a bunch of stuff that I just mentioned. However, there could also potentially be some challenges with this premise for an entire show, depending on how many seasons it is. For one, you are asking the audience, whether they are hardcore Avatar fans or casual Avatar fans, to really be invested in a story that is essentially a prequel. I feel like nowadays, it's really difficult to get someone interested in a story that's about the idea of what came before. It has to have really good writing, it's gotta have characters that you can care about that don't necessarily influence so much of what comes in the future, but also the lore and world building has to be there enough to where people still care about the more broader aspects that make the world of Avatar so appealing. appealing. Sometimes it really is the little things that get people interested the most in stuff like this. At the same time, is this show going to be following some of the same formula beats that the previous television shows that we've gotten already follow through with? For example, is our Avatar going to have a core group of friends that they go on their entire journey with, along with some animal companions? Could this potentially be the first time we see the Avatar be a loner of sorts, or say they only have one friend that tags along with them for the journey? I think the obvious answer to that question is that there would have to be other people that the Avatar goes on their journey with. It's just a matter of if they do certain things differently than what the past two shows did in their own way that were similar to each other. Is there going to be less usage of wisdom that is passed down for people, given that The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra had multiple characters that established these kinds of things for the purposes of learning new lessons and passing down vital information? In my honest opinion, I think that every show needs an Uncle Iroh. You simply cannot do this series without someone like that. And I'm not saying that because I'm biased and my channel is central to his name. I really do feel like you've got to have someone like that there because it is a good representation of what the world of Avatar means to people. Life lessons and social commentary are certain aspects that are what really made something like the original series so popular for people and loved. But would this series following the second Avatar even have stuff like that, given his or her circumstances with taking up that mantle of the Avatar? These are challenges and questions that we all have to ask if this were to ever come true as a series that gets made. And here's hoping that that is the case, that we can see a story like that be put on the screen for us to experience. And with that being said, I'm going to end the video there. That was a lot to go through, but I really enjoyed making this video. It's probably one of my favorite videos that I've gotten the chance to make on this channel so far, since I started it over a year ago now. I want to give thanks again to Caleb Williams for posting this article, as us fans now have so much to speculate on. I recommend you go check out his outlet Night Edge Media and give him a follow on Twitter. What do you all think about this idea for a new show? Let me know down below in the comments. If you did enjoy this video and you want to see more, be sure to drop it a like, and if you are new to this channel, subscribe and turn on that notification bell. Thank you all for stopping by Uncle Iroh's Tea Shop. I hope everyone here has a wonderful rest of the day, and I will see you all soon for more Avatar.